up every car company and they bring over the best sports cars they've got, and you get to play with them on a 4-mile-long racetrack for 3 days. Yep, it's not a dream. It's called the Car and Driver Lightning Lab.
Step-by-step instruction book would be book the track, borrow some cars, and start lapping.
A few years ago, Car and Driver editors wanted to find a place where they could benchmark the world's sports cars, but they didn't want to get on a 10-hour flight to Germany. So what did they do? They found the next best thing in America, and that's VIR.
Way back in the 50s, Virginia International Raceway was carved into these rolling hills near the North Carolina border by a few guys in a bulldozer. It's a long, flowing, and sometimes treacherous road course with some of the tastiest curves a sports car driver could ever hope for. It's kind of like that famous German track in the Eifel Mountains.
Well, we can't go to the Nürburgring very easily, so we wanted to bring an American Nürburgring, which is VIR, and we run a 4.1-mile configuration. It's incredibly long. It's incredibly challenging in a number of ways. There's some long straights. There's some technical sections. There's sections that really test brakes. There's sections that really push cars. And running something that long is a real test for a production car.
Well, it'll start. I'll kind of just open basically our new cars issue and go through every manufacturer and be like, yeah, it's a new performance car. We haven't done that. And then I kind of have a standing list of cars that we haven't lapped, that we've wanted to lap, so they always get invited. And, we haven't had a Veyron yet, but we're still asking. And this year we have 25 cars, 24, 25. That's the most we've ever done. And it can't be much bigger than that. So we really kind of have to figure out what we want, what's newest, what's the most important from a performance standpoint. First thing we do when we get the cars down here is fill them up with gas, weigh them, set the tire pressures, and then from there it's usually the drivers kind of divvy up what everybody's going to drive and get them into groups, and it's a lot of weight. You have 8, I have 7, you have 4, I have 3. It's
a pretty steep learning curve. We don't give the new guy as many cars, and we give him sort of stuff that we know where the time should lie.
So tell me about this is your first outing, and how's it going so far?
It's been a constant learning process, I guess. So I'm still kind of lopping time off. I'm about 2 seconds quicker today than I was yesterday in most of the cars. And I'm feeling good though, because I have results from previous years, previous WRXs, previous STIs. We had a Focus ST last year for just one day. And so I'm getting ahead of those times. So it's not like I'm out of the hunt at all.
When we have all the data from the last 7 years, it gives us time, position, speed, and it's not just a guy sitting here with a stopwatch.
So I'm installing the RaceLogic lap timer into these cars to give the guys real-time feedback for their lap times, and then comparison to their best lap as they're driving around, so they can see where they're gaining and losing time as they're going around the circuit. So to set this thing in, I'm just going to plug it into power and put an antenna on the roof. Because it's GPS, it knows exactly where it is. So when we first showed up here, it said, hey, this could be 4 different tracks. Which configuration are you using of VIR? So we can just tell it exactly which circuit we're using, and then all of a sudden it knows the start-finish line and starts giving us data from there. This is not showing you data about your car. It's not your shift light. It's not your temperatures and pressures. This is really just down to what are you doing as a driver, and are you gaining or losing time? And then also there's these LED lights across the top of it, which are showing green or red, showing if you are ahead or behind of the speed on your best lap so far. As well as this is all logging data to this SD memory card, so then you can take it into our software and compare your lines and compare you versus your friends, or look at different tires that you're using, different setups, things like that.
The numbers just work their magic through the lap, because if you're slow in the first section, they kind of stack, you know, and then by the end of the lap, it's 2 or 3 seconds gone. You say, well, I lost an eighth here and a half a second there, and you go, half a second, that's an eye blink.
Yeah.
But, you know, everything starts to compound, and, you know, our readers have written letters for much less discrepancies.
That's true.
So Car and Driver has used VBox technology since there was VBox technology. They were one of the first users of this. In the previous years, we didn't have predictive lap timing. We just had the normal times, and they could look at their times after the fact, and we had a screen that would show them. And it's definitely, there's an element of competition there that wasn't there before as well. You know, if you know immediately whether you're ahead or behind, it's that extra motivation to just push extra hard and really, you know, brake extra late. And I think that's helpful for these guys to really kind of keep the motivation going throughout the lap. We can choose any single section of the lap and choose that to really do a comparison. So, for example, I can just click on a sector and say maybe this sector 3 where I've got some fast uphill S's. That's a really challenging part of the track. And regardless of what happened on the whole rest of the lap, especially a long track like this, you can break it down into very small chunks and then see exactly what's gaining and losing time. And then ultimately on track, the trick is to put all those together into one awesome lap.
Lightning Lap is about setting lap times, and there's nothing else like it, at least in an American publication. You know, it's third-party testing. We're not counting on manufacturers to give us times. We're putting neutral drivers who are just out there trying to get the best time out of this whole spectrum of cars. And it's pretty awesome to think that, you know, for 3 days, you have 4 guys lapping VIR all to themselves. You know, few publications can put something like this together, draw all these cars, and at the end of the day, you know, after this year, we're going to have more than 150 cars in our database over 8 years.
We just kind of get here, and it's the same group of guys that come down. They know what we're doing, what we need to do, and we get it done pretty seamlessly.
When we first started doing this, we sort of thought, yeah, this is the US equivalent of the Nürburgring. We didn't think anybody would care, but manufacturers now come here and test their cars, and you can almost feel it. You can almost feel the cars that have been tested here because they just seem to be, you know, happy.
And happy cars mean happy drivers. At the end of those 3 days at VIR, the lap times these guys produce paint a landscape of the world's performance cars. And there's the list. It's the kind of list that starts bar fights or sparks online flame wars. Whose favorite car got beaten? Who's eclipsed a rival unexpectedly? Who are these drivers anyway? Even if you don't get to drive all these cars like these guys do, the arguments they start can be almost as much fun.
Yes, as jobs go, these guys could have it worse. But take a look at this lineup of cars behind me. It's pretty obvious that we're in a golden age of sports cars that hopefully all of us will one day be able to enjoy.